Good morning, council members, state officials and representatives, members of the public. Welcome to the May 6, 2025 meeting of the Social Equity Council, which I'm calling to order at 10:16 a.m. And I'll call the roll. Councilmember Abercrombie. Councilmember Beeman.
Present.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Borges. I am here. Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Gaddis.
Here.
Councilmember Hawkins. Councilmember Jefferson.
Present.
Councilmember Karpowitz. Councilmember Medina. Councilmember Name.
Present.
Councilmember Shirley.
Here.
Councilmember Skyers Thomas.
Present.
Councilmember Valeries. Councilmember Santiago Benedor. Councilmember Walton. We have a quorum. Before we get started, as everyone knows, we're in the throes of legislative session, and there has been significant communication and several pieces of legislation regarding the cannabis space. This body has been advised of frustration on the part of some of our social equity entrepreneurs, and I say some because there are currently 108 social equity entrepreneurs. So I want to put the discourse in perspective. As I've listened to this conversation, it's important to clarify the role and responsibility of the Social Equity Council so there's no misunderstanding. Section 23F of the Public Act that implemented WRACA says the council shall promote and encourage full participation in the cannabis industry by persons from communities that have been disproportionately harmed by cannabis prohibition and enforcement. How is that defined in statute? Section 23(5)H says the SEC will use the results of a study, which UConn did for us some years ago, to make recommendations to the governor, finance, revenue and bonding, consumer protection, and judiciary committees regarding legislation to implement the law. That study made recommendations around how to best define DIAs, inform workforce development programs, and create a framework for community reinvestment. The statute also says that this body shall create programs to ensure that individuals from communities that have been disproportionately harmed by cannabis prohibition and enforcement are provided equal access to licenses for cannabis establishments. We're supposed to specify additional qualifications for social equity applicants. That was established when we determined the requirements for residency, income, and ownership and control. We are also supposed to establish a process to ensure social equity applicants have access to capital and training. The loan program was established to address the former, and our ongoing work with the Office of Workforce Strategies addresses the latter. So why am I stating that information? Because there is a presumption being made by some in this space that the SEC has been tasked with lobbying for social equity applicants, despite the fact that nowhere in the statute are we assigned that charge. Does that mean we will not advocate for social equity applicants when doing so will support our responsibilities? Of course not. Does it mean that we are supposed to speak in favor of a fraction of SEAs when doing so would be in direct conflict with our responsibility to disproportionately impacted communities? In my view, it does not. Each session, there have been requests made by some SEAs to change the rules to facilitate their engagement with this industry. When such changes benefit both the SEAs and the harmed communities, we have willingly stood up and said so. That said, this council was established to address the needs of impacted communities, not a minute group of the 108 SEAs doing business in this industry. Finally, to those who have questioned the need for this council and suggested we are of no use if we are not here to unconditionally stand with you, I might suggest that you seek legislation that would create an ombudsman position for SEAs, such as the medical marijuana constituents did. So I appreciate that point of privilege. Moving on, our first agenda item is approval of the April 1st, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our next item is a vote on two equity joint ventures. The first is a denial of ACRE 0015701, Second Chance Project LLC. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next is approval of ACRE 0015683, C3 EJV1 LLC. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Next up is our committee updates, so I yield to our committee chairs for any reports they may have to provide.
None here, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. Okay. Hearing, okay. All right, hearing none. Next are updates from the SEC, so I'll turn it over to our Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
You all have been meeting, so I know you have updates, but I guess you all leave it up to me to share with you some updates. But before we move on with my official update, I would like to recognize all of our guests in this space. Can some of our social equity entrepreneurs, can you please stand to be recognized? And those of you who are interested in participating, please stand to be recognized. Y'all go ahead, you stand up, yeah. Can y'all give it up for our social equity? Thank you so much. I know oftentimes we come in a big space and you may be seated. We come into this big space and it's like everybody's here at the desk, meeting, but you all are very much a part of the work that we do and we appreciate you. To the council, thank y'all so much for being here. I'm just going to read a few notes and then quickly jump into my updates. Next slide. So it's important. We are all grounded and centered around our mission and vision. We seek to promote equitable economic prosperity by supporting social equity entrepreneurs and reinvesting in communities most impacted by the war on drugs. Our vision is clear. We want to see communities prosperous and we want to see them thrive. So you can keep that up and I'll read a little bit. Over the past 8 months, I have had the honor of working alongside many dedicated stakeholders. My leadership team, the esteemed chairwoman, and the members of the council have been exceptional partners in our shared journey to reimagine this work. I am also deeply grateful to the council staff for their steadfast support. So again, could y'all stand up so you can be recognized as well? Thank y'all. The council stands firmly committed to our mission as already read before you. We cannot achieve our mission without taking steps to address poverty, drug-related convictions, and underemployment, unemployment, and advance equity in communities most impacted by the war on drugs so that they are prosperous and thriving. We continue to live out our mission every day with grit and passion. Although uncertainty on the national front has been a recurring theme, we at the council are resolute in our belief that our programs will uplift disproportionately impacted areas, reinvesting in the communities most impacted by the war on drugs. I say all that to say, keep up the great work that we're doing. We're still climbing up the steps, as I always share with y'all by Zig Ziglar. We're not taking the elevator, we're taking one step at a time to reimagine this work. Next slide. So in my presentation, I'll quickly run through financial summary. We'll pause a little bit to talk through some of the legislative updates and some of the challenges that's already been raised by our Madam Chairwoman. And then I'd like to end off my piece of the updates here, just sharing with you many of our accomplishments during Q1. And then I'll turn it over to my special guest, our vendor, Miranda Creative, to provide some updates. Next slide. As of today, we have $10.8 million from deposits into the Social Equity Innovation Fund. Last year, it was somewhere around $10.7 million, just in case y'all asked, Mr. Shirley. Our financial summary, as you can see, is essentially our expenditures for the previous month. This body approved a $10.2 million budget, of which we are well within our appropriated funds here, and we're doing well there. Our personnel services, salary, fringe benefits, as you can see, for 9 full-time employees, we're at $127,787.49. Other expenses, contracts, agreements, supplies, et cetera, at $17,963.55, bringing us to a total of $145,751.04. For our reinvestment program, R2, you'll see that the numbers have shifted slightly from 5.6 million to 36 million over the course of 3 years. And I know some of y'all are saying, huh, what happened? We've done an enormous amount of back work, really researching all of our numbers, utilizing the existing data we have on our files, working in partnership with our Madam Chairwoman, Naeem, and the entire Workforce and Reinvestment Committee, alongside our chairperson, to really think proactively with respect to our budget, the impact that we want to have in many of the disproportionately impacted communities throughout the state of Connecticut, realign its focus. I'm going to pause there because I'm not sure if any of you may have questions. You want to? Yes, sir. I'm glad. And before you actually go, I'm also going to make sure you're prepped, Madam Chair, should we have further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Can you just hash out that R2 program and 36 and the change in the numbers so that we have a better understanding of it?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
Would you like me to go through?
Sure. Do the honors.
Breakdown of numbers, but really looking at, instead of looking at the 5.6 million that we wanted to spend just in 1 year, we're looking at what do we have in an investment account and how do we build up more of a program over time where we're making strategic longer-term investments, so not just short, small, 1 year investments, but looking at, hey, we might need a program that needs 18 months or 24 months or more in terms of runway to actually achieve the goals that it's set out to achieve. So looking at it from the perspective of how do we grow out that timeline, but then also allows us to tap into additional funds from future fiscal years. So we had 5.6 million from the current fiscal year we're sitting in. We had, I believe it was like 10.8.
Actually,
I thought it was
10 to
10.8.
11-ish for the coming fiscal year, and then the remaining is in the third fiscal year. So combining those over the course of time and being able to set,
predictability.
contracts and predictability, but contracts that will help us understand what is the impact and are we actually providing the right runways for it.
So it'll be something like 5.6 for the current year, a different number for the next year, and then what's left over for the final year that will equal 36 million over 3 years.
No, let's just clarify. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it'll be $12 million per year for 3 years for a total of 36.
So when will that 12 go into effect? So help me understand the 5.6 that you mentioned. Is that still on the table for this year?
No, so because the NOFO or the RFP to contract the grant managers will eventually be published later this year, we wouldn't enter into a contract with them till probably July 1st or after. Mm-hmm. So we would carry the 5.6 over into the next fiscal year.
Okay, and that's where we get to 12 million per year.
Correct. And if I can just add a little more context, we will include, we all have identified 6 DIAs or 6 regions that we'll refer to. We're adding 4 more regions. And I will provide that list toward the end of the meeting. But again, it's 10 total regions across the state, totaling investment of 36 million over 3 years, as already mentioned. And that's accounting for 194 census tracts out of the 237 census tracts here in the state of Connecticut. And that is huge. Counselor?
Yeah, and I know the money isn't transformative, but I just want to be clear about this. So the 12 million will be divided up within the existing DIAs and plus the additional DIAs, or will the grant makers come from several DIAs?
You're correct. So we're in regions, right? So you'll have grant managers who are eligible and go through our process by interview, right? They'll apply, we hire them, they will represent, for example, Eastern Connecticut. Southern Connecticut. And so we want to make sure that these grant managers obviously understand the DIAs, they understand our compliance and our oversight, et cetera. And we're also engaging many of our stakeholders, i.e. Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, our counselors here, to share the invitation to apply for the funding, because we do not want to do this in a vacuum. We want to make sure that we're inclusive of all of our DIAs throughout the state.
Thank you.
If I may just add one
Please.
thing we discussed during our meeting last month was from a timeline perspective, wanting to make sure that we're giving ourselves the time to really think this out versus taking Nova out the door for the 5.6 we have and not knowing what the impact would be. So I know the team's working really hard, not just to think about how do we get the money out the door, but also how do we make sure we're understanding the metrics that are coming back in.
That's right.
Are
That's
we
right.
counting sort of what's the impact that we want to see happening? And then can the folks that are delivering on the programs and services using this money able to actually do that in a way that is digestible? If you remember last time when we did the reinvestment, because we had so many different organizations with so many different types of metrics, it's really difficult to kind of wrangle around okay, what does this really mean? So I commend Director McGee and the team for taking the time to really think about that and think strategically what are those higher level metrics that we want to see over time, over the next 3 years.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this, the 36 million, is that a combination of cash on hand and projection cash coming in?
Correct. So currently we have in the SEIF, our fund, we have somewhere around 65, 70 million in our coffers. And I think it's important that you all understand that one account funds operations, personnel, our programs, et cetera. And because we're funded by the sales of cannabis, we want to be pretty conservative in our budgeting to anticipate whether we're trending down or up, but we want to make sure we're always in a healthy place with respect to our fiscal house. So we're just projecting out. This is great dialogue. Keep talking. I like this.
Can you
Yes,
just
ma'am.
remind folks what the 3 focus areas are?
Yes. So the question for the room was, could we remind all of you our program priority areas that we will invest in? Number 1, we've identified our economic development as a priority with an emphasis on access to workforce, recognizing that some of our population may have a lot of challenges entering into the community. And so we want to really support CBOs, or we will refer to them as subrecipients, and helping them to give these folks greater access. The second program priority area is reentry programs, right? We all understand the importance of reentering the community, coming home from the justice system. And so we want to help those organizations scale. And then lastly, you can't be a thriving community without thriving young people. And so we're going to focus on youth initiatives throughout the state of Connecticut. So those are the 3 program priority areas. The team is currently working on rubrics so that we could help with our KPIs and making sure we have outcomes clearly identified. We have training on the importance of reporting. We will provide templates for our CBOs and grant managers to utilize so that we can better tell our story around investment in these particular program priority areas. Cool? Awesome. Thank you. Oh, actually, you know what? One more. Our social equity revolving loan program, year to date, we've closed on about 4 loans, around $1.7 million out the door, and we're currently engaging with several other Cs, social equity entrepreneurs. I do want to thank our finance committee, our loan advisory group, because I don't want to say it wrong, loan advisory group that is comprised of our council members, members from the financial industry, thank y'all so much for helping us, and also DECD, who provides our fiscal backbone support. Next slide. All right, so here's where we're going to get in the thick of things before I talk about all the good news. Our legislative updates. So some of you have heard from some of our social equity entrepreneurs, frustrations around some of our policy, quite frankly, some of their realities that they've been faced with, and we affirm their frustrations. It's been a long time coming. And I wanted to be sure we centralize all of this information and that I communicate to you what we're doing as a council to deepen our relationship, better understand the challenges, and then come up with a solution. So if you can just indulge me for a second, save your questions toward the end. Number one, cultivation outside of DIA. During last year's session, the council supported expanding the allowable locations for DIA cultivators to include state-recognized tribal reservations and outdoor facilities and municipalities with the DIA. A total of 41 towns are eligible for these cultivator facilities. And lastly, the council opposes allowing cultivators to set up outside of the DIA with the exception of outdoor grow, as it undermines the social equity program and community reinvestment goals. Number two, micro-cultivator conversion. Legislation allowed cultivators that have not paid the $3 million fee to convert to micro-cultivators. Though only 3 cultivators took advantage of this option, only 3 have converted. On-site pharmacist requirement. Questions about the need for on-site pharmacists, including potential telehealth options and reduced operating hours. Just 2 more. EJV, Equity Joint Venture, change in ownership, which has been a really, really hot one, 7 to 3 year. The council opposes the proposed change due to concerns about the following: delayed profits for businesses or social equity entrepreneurs, protection of the social equity of individuals from predatory buyouts, potential negative impact of the cannabis market where MSOs would take over and displace non-EJVs, and lastly, unclear criteria for owning changes and fairness in buyouts. Lastly, pathway for DIA cultivators to convert to micro-cultivators. This alternative would allow DIA cultivators that paid the $3 million fee to convert to micro-cultivators. Support the conversion is contingent on not allowing the creation of 2 EJVs, and cultivators will not receive a $3 million refund. Over the past few weeks, my team, the leadership team, we've met with several social equity entrepreneurs more than one time, and we'll continue to meet with them. The social equity entrepreneurs have expressed their legislative concerns and frustrations, and in response to their feedback, we are encouraged, or rather engaged, we're also engaged in conversations with the Department of Consumer Protection to address the social equity concerns and discuss potential solutions that could be implemented to help support these endeavors. I'll pause here in case any of our members have any questions. Our legislative chairperson, Corey Betts, if you have any further commentary you want to add, please, by any means, feel free. Any questions, please?
What you mentioned about cultivation outside of the DIA, I believe, Madam Chair, sort of addressed that, alluded to it, or spoke to it in her opening remarks.
Yep.
And I just think in order for us to sound informed and be informed, when we oppose this, can you just help us understand the connection between the tax revenue and how it impacts reinvestment?
Sure. So, and I think the example I'll use, I'm trying to think, let's use Wethersfield, right? So if someone decided that they wanted to have a cultivation facility in Wethersfield, that tax revenue does not come to Hartford. There's no agreement currently in place. What we have right now is And we started off with just DIAs, and then we expanded it so that it could be within a DIA municipality. Once you leave those city limits, that revenue is no longer coming to that municipality, and that reinvestment is no longer going to those communities that have been harmed by the war on drugs. So that's the reason why we have had the issue with it. Now, there have been additional conversations. I would love if, and I don't know how this would work, but if Wethersfield and Hartford had some sort of an MOU, right, where there's an agreement that the revenue could come back to that impacted municipality, then I think we could start a conversation. But if the intent was to reinvest, much like the Community Investment Fund that DECD runs, if the intent is to honor and affirm what has happened to these communities because of the policies that devastated them, then that's our primary charge, and we need to hold fast to that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
And just elaborate on EJV, the equity joint ventures, and the change in ownership and why we oppose that. One aspect of it that you addressed.
Go for it.
So we're in multiple conversations with different stakeholders. Primarily one of our concerns is regarding the reasoning for the 7-year limit. And in conversations with DCP and other folks that were around during that time, some of the information that we've gathered shows that the intent was that social equity entrepreneurs would partner with MSOs or people who have financial backing or industry knowledge and help the social equity entrepreneur, right, build up the business and be able to be sustainable and stay in the business, not to get the benefits from being a social equity entity, and then 3 years go by and they're able to buy out the social equity individual, right? As you know, social equity businesses enjoy certain benefits from the state for the first 3 years in which they're in place. For example, 50% of the licensing fee, reduced renewal fees, benefits from the Social Equity Council. One of them is, are we giving the social equity individuals enough time to thrive in the industry? Or are we allowing the MSOs or the big financial backers to just buy them out in a predatory manner before that 7-year that we envisioned was the adequate time to pass? And then the second would be the concern about they've already reaped these benefits, and at year 3 they get to walk away, with all these financial benefits. How do we make the state whole then, when it's no longer a social equity entity?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? I see your minds percolating here. Take a moment to breathe. But I will say this in closing on this particular these updates. There have been really difficult conversations, recognizing that these folks, this is their livelihood, and they've been in these positions for a couple years now, not seeing any revenue come into their coffers. And so we're not making these decisions lightly, and we don't take it lightly, and we really want to make sure what we can do as the council, help them where they are, and recognizing that we're also in legislative session, and there's a lot of work being done. I would be remiss, you're going to add something, I would be remiss if I did not say publicly I do appreciate the General Law Committee and their support in this, and sort of not standing on the sideline, but allowing for the agency of Cognizance to really work on the matter and work alongside them as it relates to policy. Marty?
Something I forgot to mention regarding the bill that's currently at 7178 and the language that is proposed to allow for that reduction in time from 7 to 3 years. It charges the SEC with making a determination as to whether that transaction or that buyout should be approved. It doesn't establish any criteria for us to do that. We would have to assume it's probably fairness, and fairness to one might not necessarily be fair to the other, right? So it's a very subjective process as it's been presented, and it would expose us possibly to a lot of litigation and a lot of contention So we would oppose the language as written as well, in 7178.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Greg. I'd like to just add 2 cents to the change from 7 to 3 years. Generally, it would, these businesses are new ventures and they need time to mature.
Yes.
It's true in any industry. You'll see that 7 to 8 years is about when a successful new venture, particularly in tech, is mature. And the maturity, the increase in value tends to start in year 4. So,
It's good information. Stuff we can use. Yes, please.
Through you, Madam Chairwoman, how are taxes treated? Like my businesses, I structure them where the businesses take care of the tax liability, both personally. How are these tax liabilities flowing to these guys or gals, 1040?
That's an interesting question.
So
I'm not
we've,
investigating.
I mean, I guess it would depend on the structure. We've had recent agreements that have been submitted for evaluation of SEI approval, and at some point they've taken the agreement back to account for that. But I think at the initial phases that didn't occur because we've heard from SEIs who have a large tax liability to the IRS that the backers are unwilling to fund. So when you, let's say, you know, SEI Madi, by virtue of attributed income from the entity to me, I have a tax liability of $100,000. Of course, I'm gonna want my backer to buy me out because I don't wanna have that liability.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the concerns that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll continue with less than a month in session, do what we can to continue to advocate on behalf of RCs. But just wanted to make sure that we said publicly, this is where we are, here are some of the challenges, and we're gonna continue to work through them. Next slide. All right, y'all remember this, don't you? 3-year strategic roadmap. And I don't have the fancy clicker. I envision being on the stage like, you know, like TED Talk and clicking, but we're gonna be okay with this. So Q1, let me just read this for you. In a time, again, of uncertainty, the council's mission is strong and well. And since my first day on the job until now, I am committed to the work of the council, shared during each regular council meeting, whether we are in person or virtual, committee meeting or staff meeting, is the council's 3-year strategic roadmap. And you'll see our quarterly goals for our focused areas and initiatives. All of our focus areas, don't take me too fast. You're stealing my thunder. You'll see green, blue, red, and purple, or if not, you're colorblind, it's okay. To your far left, you'll see on the side, those are our 4 focused areas, and then all of the initiatives right there in the middle box. To report on our Q1, I'd first like to, again, restate that the council is committed to initiatives to improve our 4 focused areas: staff, council, community, and industry, which is explicitly outlined in our strategic plan that we approved back in January. These areas have also served as key performance indicators to assist our team with evaluation of staff, programs, initiatives, and funding. And I'm pleased to share with you our Q1 results, January, February, and March, okay? And so for context, of the 11 initiatives you see aligned with the 4 KPIs, we have completed at least 7 of them, if not more. But I'll start off with our staff. We have identified and developed the organization's operating model that visually describes how the internal departments work and anticipated communication of workflow. We have also created organizational model or an organizational chart that better represents our current and future needs. Underneath our council, The council bylaws, thank you, council, have been updated to align with the new mission statement, operational matters, and clarified the council committee action to better align with current practices. We've increased and streamlined communications with our council. We've even established quarterly in-person council regular meetings and reduced the number of committee meetings by 60%. We now meet on a quarterly basis. KPI number 3 under community. The council has renamed the community reinvestment to reimagine and revitalize. Community Reinvestment Program, better known as R2, or some of the staff will say R squared. Aligned the R2 program on priority DIAs, program priorities, and our funding approach. It is important and exciting to announce that the council will include, as I mentioned earlier during the financial report, additional regions to the original list of 6. The list of 10 regions represents DIAs with the highest number of census tracts. They include Bridgeport, Danbury, Hartford, East Hartford, Meriden, New Britain, New Haven and East Haven, New London, Norwich, Wyndham area, Norwalk, Stamford, and lastly, Waterbury. Again, these 10 regions across the state will total an investment of $36 million over 3 years, accounting for 194 census tracts out of 237. Finally, we established key performance indicators for program priority areas, updated the request for proposal to align with DAS's standard, RFP for grant managers and our CBOs, and the council's scope of work, reporting, and compliance with our funding. Lastly, within our industry area, we've hosted 6 virtual roundtables with our social equity entrepreneurs to give important updates on current initiatives, provide updates, establish open dialogue for entrepreneurs to share all of their reasons why they appreciate us, why they are upset with us, feedback, voice their concerns, but nonetheless a safe space where they can talk. We've established an internal loan advisory group comprised, again, of members of the council with a financial background and members of the finance committee. And we also, and I think this is an important one, we addressed loan program backlog of applicants, somewhere around 30 applications sitting in the pipeline that has allowed us to close on 4 loans totaling the 1.7 that I've mentioned. We've also cleared social equity plans, workforce development plans that were sitting idle in a queue. We've updated our change of ownership language, and lastly, we've updated our social equity individuals status policy. So, yeah, that was supposed to be up, but it's okay. I like it. Go on to the next slide. There you go. Show and tell. I think this is important, y'all, to know. Just some updates that I want to share with you all. In Q2, Q3 of this year, we have a few initiatives that we will be launching. The Social Equity Council Resource Hub that will consist of grant-making opportunities, other technical assistance programs, et cetera, just resources for our social equity entrepreneurs. We also want to work alongside our local government. There are a lot of municipalities and towns who are not familiar with our work. They appreciate the money, but they don't understand there's also a technical component to this work, in that many of our social equity entrepreneurs, business owners, they need help with permitting. They need help better understanding how to navigate some of the nuanced systems within local government. And chief among them, destigmatizing cannabis in many of these spaces. If we will reimagine our communities, we got to work alongside many of our mayors, our town councilors, and our community leaders. And then the one that's important to me is the Social Equity Entrepreneurs Networking event, where we'll bring all of our folks together. to meet and humanize these people who sit at this desk, meet with you all to hear directly from you. So stay tuned for more on that. Next slide. Upcoming meetings, counselors, please know that the next meeting will not be in person, but it will be virtual. That's Tuesday, June 3rd at 10. The public is always invited. There will be a link for you to join, but in person, we try to do without a link. We want you to come in person, but all of our meetings are recorded and will be made available on our website. Lastly, we do have 3 committee meetings coming up. You see the dates there: Policy Governance Committee, Finance, and Legislative Committee. Although I will say this, Councilor Betts, we may need to have a special legislative meeting just to provide some updates as to where we are. The session will be well over by June 25th, so we may want to get in before then. Just some administrative housekeeping before I turn it over to Maria, and if you can just get her stuff situated. All right, perfect. You should have received another copy of the calendar, which y'all see, and I know y'all like Brandy, you don't have to go through this, but yes, we do. You have a copy of the calendar. Please be sure to post it wherever you can see it, okay? Our team put a lot of work into organizing and making sure we're working alongside your calendars, making it easy for you to be here and to show up. In-person meeting attendance. Attendance exceptions remain in place for scheduled in-person meetings. Zoom links, please know that Zoom links for applicable meetings will be provided via email for remote meetings only, and that'll be via Zoom for our regular council meetings. Our committee meetings will be via Teams, okay? SEE meetings, they occur on the second Tuesday of each month. We have 2 time slots, one at noon and one at 6. We encourage you, counselors, please show up. Even if you can't have your screen on, it's always cool for you to just hear what we hear real time, but just know that we'll be taking notes and we'll share those with you. Lastly, optional attendance. As noted in previous email, SEE meetings are optional. Georgette will send out the links this afternoon, so you all will have them. Any questions for me before I turn it over?
Just a comment. My name is missing from the Workforce and Reinvestment Committee list.
Okay, cool. We'll be sure to add you. Georgette, we're going to add Jefferson back on the committee. I think we misunderstood your request to be removed from the committee.
Policy.
Oh, policy. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I'd like to formally introduce our vendor in person who has been behind the scenes with her amazing team, Miranda Creative, who will take the meeting from this point forward. I'm going to put this on you.
Let me just put these down.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to help you or you got it?
I think I got it.
I'll just
Okay.
move this so you can sit in my mess.
Sure. I'm going to stand, everybody, if that's okay. I've been sitting for a bit today. And this is my second building I've been into this morning. It has no AC. The first one was a legislative office building, which would be very interesting at the close of session. Maybe it's a plan to get them out of session sooner, maybe. So by way of introduction, my name is Maria Miranda. I run a marketing firm called Miranda Creative in Norwich, Connecticut. And I want to thank you for the work that you're doing for the council. I established my company when I was 23 in 1988 and chose to do so to build opportunities and careers and jobs in my hometown. And so I really understand the mission and the passion of the council. And I'm honored to be here today. So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to hand this out. We'll go in 2 directions here. Is the work that we're doing on your communications. And my goal is to create for you an ongoing dashboard that at a glance we can be measurable and accountable to you for what's happening with your communications plan. So today's going to be the first time we're going to talk about this dashboard together. And then in the future, we're just going to quickly go through it for efficiency. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. All right. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. Okay. So while we're passing these around, just real quickly, who is Miranda Creative? Because I believe every conversation needs to begin with a place of trust. As I share with you, we were established in 1988. That means we're running around 36 to 37 years of experience. And we are 30 team members within our community, most of them located throughout the different counties of Connecticut. Thank you. Our work spans in the areas that you need, encompassing digital messaging, website development, social media, et cetera. Our clients, we're very proud of this, a wide range of our clients. You might know some of our work. Anyone here fans of Parkville Market? No? We opened that market in the middle of the pandemic and did their branding. We're very proud of Carlos and his team. You also know our work for the Department of Agriculture for Connecticut Grown, and also the branding and the launch of Connecticut Paid Leave. All happened through Miranda Creative. Just so I have creds, right? Okay. All right. I'd like to share that we are a cohort-based environment. So what that means is clients come to us with particular needs. We bring talent to the table. And as you evolve as an organization with internal placements, that cohort steps back. So that's how we work in that model. And the lead of your cohort is Sarah Gibbons, who is right here. And she manages your team currently at Miranda Creative and is responsible for all of the great work. Next slide. Okay. And I would share with you that we combine innovation and technology with a very human perspective. You can't tell in speaking to me today that we think we are always consistently reminded that the work we're doing is about communicating to individuals who are impacted by the messaging we're delivering, or maybe not delivering as we should. And that's our journey together. How am I doing so far? Okay. All right. Let's go to the dashboard. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's clarify the expectations of the relationships. We're responsible for your strategic communications and some aspects of rebranding. We'll talk about that in a moment. We're looking to make sure that your vital mission and public perception is very clearly understood, especially in echoing of your 3-year strategic plan. We're serving as your outsourced communications agency, and we're looking at developing tools and resources guided by your strategic plan, as I shared, could then be adopted by internal resources. And we're going to be looking at measurables for you and best practices, including especially the website area where a lot of people are looking for information, and your essential collateral. Okay? Very specific and very, very focused. So far, so good? Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move into, these are self-explanatory, we're going to move into the next aspects of it. Let's break down where things are. So I'm going to go to the next slide first and then come back to this one if you don't mind, Caesar. I want to begin with that really important one, which is the digital footprint. Because everything I've heard so far this morning is going to be about individuals searching or looking for this information. And we want to make sure that our digital footprint is really, really strong. So we're working on the priority right now of organizing information on the website and also making sure that the content is optimized for our search. Because I want individuals to come to your site over articles that may be dated or information that may not be accurate. That's a really, really critical part within us. So let's go back up to the previous slide. So when I begin by talking about universal branding, I'm talking about things that need to be done so that when we move into the website, we have things clearly understood. So we've worked on first on a very quick visual identity, because you had a different brand on your social media, on your website, everywhere. So we want to make sure people know that when they find you, that is one consistent environment. We're looking at reusable content that can be consistently applied, such as a boilerplate to your public relations. Does that make sense so far? Okay. If you have any questions, please reach out and share. Moving into media relations, we have designed and planned opportunities for sharing your strategic plan. As you know, how many pages is your fully extended strategic plan? 67 pages, right? So we have created that into a little miracle one-pager, okay, so that we can share that. And this will also be made into a PowerPoint presentation that Brandon can share. So this type of information is what we're looking to make sure we accomplish. Okay? 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 Moving into audience-specific communication. Sorry, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. Looking at audience-specific communications, you might notice that that is still currently all in the gray area, because we want to, before we move into very specific strategic newsletters or digital information to legislators, we have all of the digital footprint resolved. Because where are we going to be sending them, council members? We're going to be sending them to the website for the extended links. That needs to be addressed. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. Talked about the digital footprint, community education and engagement, as I share the examples of a resource like the strategic plan at a glance, and looking at we have accurate information regarding entrepreneur support. Okay. Under council controlled channels, you currently have a YouTube channel, 2 Facebook profiles, Instagram profile, LinkedIn profile. All of those need to be consistently presented, accurate information on all of those spaces. So we're doing that first, and we'll then moving in to start doing posting of links to what you need to be sharing. Okay. Next slide. Okay. The foundation of everything that we're doing includes 2 categories I think would be very important for the council, is we're looking at putting in place best practices. So as you move to internal resources or as you continue to move forward, information such as where can you find your brand tools? What is the boilerplate on any press release? How are you calling yourself? There's abbreviation you're often using, SEC, which you know has many applications to a universal aspect. We're encouraging you to call yourself the council so that there's a clarity between other abbreviations of SEC. So getting those foundations addressed for best practices. And beginning my next visit or a handout that's done by the council will be a KPI dashboard, which will show you how many visits you have to your site, how many followers you have on social media, any feedback we're getting to the information that we're sharing. Okay. Organized, focused. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Go do my job? Okay, I'll go do my job. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Oh, you get a clap. Okay. And I thought it was important that Maria and her team came today to present their work alongside us. We're in the process of relaunching the Community Reinvestment, our R2 program. And you all know, naturally, there will be noise around, well, what happened to the original $6 million, right? And we want to make sure that we are poised for success, but we also want to make sure we have all updated information on all of our platforms and that we can tell collectively our message strategically. So I'm excited about the direction we're going. Learning curves, but nonetheless, we're working alongside folks. Special shout out to Hartford Public Access Television that's here today, recording our meeting, and we plan to meet with all of the public access networks, if you would, throughout the state so that we can get into our communities, right? And so that folks can better understand who we are and who we are not. So that said, any closing remarks? I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, E.D. McGee. I did want to acknowledge that our council member, Santiago Venedor, is here, and we're glad to see you, sir. Is there anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, Councilor Gaddis. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Have a lovely day, everyone.
By the way, we have some.